everyone. It is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, and the time is 9:04 a.m. Will the Committee on Planning the Economy meeting please come to order? I would like to welcome committee members, Committee Vice Chair Cordero by video conference, Councilmember Okimoto, Councilmember Shea, Councilmember Wire, and joining us today will be Councilmember Tupola as well as Councilmember Dos Santos Tam. Committee Vice Chair, in accordance with Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92.3.7, please identify each person who is with you at your location.
I am alone.
Thank you so much. Pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92.3.7, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda when each item is taken up in two ways, in person with the council chamber and remotely via video conference or phone. Each person will be limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. All persons who registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When your name is called, please come up to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name for the record. Persons who did not register will be given an opportunity to offer testimony after the registered testifiers. Once in-person testimony has concluded, I will take testimony from the remote testifiers. When I call your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number, please follow the prompts to unmute and begin by stating your name for the record. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires that all votes at a remote meeting be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, if any objections are noted, I will call for a roll call vote. For those council members participating remotely under HRS Section 92-3.7, the meeting will automatically recess if we lose audiovisual contact with you and we cannot reconvene until contact is reestablished. Therefore, please announce beforehand if you will be voluntarily signing out of the meeting, if only for a short break. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Thank you. Moving to agenda item number 1 for discussion only, Resolution 24-243. This resolution will reconvene the Agricultural Development Task Force that was previously established by Resolution 4-88 CD1 and amended by Resolution 08-31. Membership will consist of no more than 9 and no less than 5 members with no term limits. Councilmember Tupola and I co-introduced this resolution, which would reconvene the Honolulu City Council's Agricultural Development Task Force to foster the growth and enhancement of agricultural activities on Oahu. This discussion is meant to start the conversation on this important task force. We hope to take into consideration the comments we received today regarding some of the organizational and procedural aspects of the task force. Before I call on the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any testifiers for this item?
Chair, yes, we do.
When I call your name, please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name for the record. Please conclude your remarks promptly when you hear the buzzer, the buzz of the timer.
Chair, there are no in-person.
Oh, sorry. Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on this item? Please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name. Seeing none, proceeding on with remote testimony. Please come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair and members of the council. My name is Mariah Yoshizu on behalf of Ulupono Initiative. I just want to say thank you so much for introducing this measure. We really appreciate it, as it was one of the top general recommendations from our ag stakeholder group for Bill 64 as well. We really want to elevate these agricultural voices and make sure that they are able to support and uplift our agricultural industry. So we really appreciate giving them the platform to be able to do this at the council. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Anyone else who would like to testify? If you can come to the podium and please identify yourself.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the council. My name is Ramsey Brown. I'm with Kuilima Farm. Actually, we participated in that 2023 Ag Stakeholder Meeting. So really, thank you very much for introducing this, council members, and we are in great support of this resolution and convening this agricultural task force. Thank you.
Members, any question? Anyone else in the room who'd like to testify? We're going to now move into remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, yes, we do.
When I call your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number, please follow the prompts to unmute and begin by stating your name for the record. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. First testifier is Frederick Mencher.
Fred Mencher, East Oahu County Farm Bureau. As we state in our written testimony, East County strongly supports the revival of the Ag Task Force. Without such an advisory body, the City Council and the County Administration have no direct line of communication to hear the needs and concerns of Oahu's farmers and ranchers. We therefore thank Council members Kia Aina and Tupola for introducing this resolution and hope that the full Council will pass it. I would like to suggest 2 amendments to the resolution. First, that if the task force is revived, the majority of its members be active farmers and ranchers. And second, that the list of suggested topics for review by the task force include the cost and availability of water, including water infrastructure such as water meters, water piping, irrigation systems, and wells. Thank you for the opportunity to support this measure.
Thank you, Frederick. I want to make sure that you have written testimony that includes your recommendations.
It doesn't. These are a couple of things that I thought of after I submitted
Okay. If you don't mind, I would, because my intent is to modify the resolution, please follow up via email to my email account with the oral amendments that you provided today. Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Frederick? Moving on to the next testifier, Micah Munikata.
Chair, testifier is not logged on.
Taylor Campbell. Is Taylor Campbell online? I see him. You need to unmute. Please proceed.
Aloha, my name is Taylor P.E.K. Campbell. I'm a 2nd-generation farmer from Waimanalo and sit on the board of the Waimanalo Agriculture Association, who I'm here representing today. We're in strong support of the resolution to reconvene the Honolulu City Council's Ag Task Force. It's of great importance to the agricultural community to ensure that we have a voice at the table. And if the task force had existed before the undertaking of Bill 64, it would have been able to provide really valuable guidance from a farmer's perspective from the get-go. In Waimanalo, there are many competing interests on agricultural lands, leading to some misuse on ag lands for unpermitted activities. The task force would be able to address these issues and create solutions for the continued preservation of agricultural lands, and ultimately help to protect and relieve farmers from undue burdens. Thank you so much for introducing this resolution and for the opportunity to express our strong support.
Thank you, Taylor. If you have any recommendations, could you please make sure it's for the record or to get it to my office before the next hearing?
Mm-hmm.
Members, if there's no questions, I'm going to move to the next testifier, Chun James.
Chair, testifier is not logged on.
Next testifier is Mike Foley. Is Mike Foley online?
Testifier logged off, Chair.
Ramsey Brown. Is Ramsey Brown online? Is there anyone else standing by remotely who would like to testify on this item? Please use the raise hand feature to indicate your desire to speak.
Chair, we have one. Sunny Unga.
Please proceed if you can identify yourself.
Aloha Chair, this is Sunny Unga on behalf of Kohuku Community Association. We strongly support Chair Kia Aina's proposed amendments overall regarding the setback on large wind turbines. We do request 2 amendments. One, we urge the Council to set a height limit and cap the maximum height at 568 feet. 2, add language in subsection G2 to ensure that any increase in turbine height does not violate the
Sunny?
existing 1-to-1 setback.
Sunny, I think
Yes?
you are testifying on Bill 64, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we are on agenda item number 1, which is relating to the Agricultural Development Task Force.
Oh, my apologies. Is that later? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's
Okay.
2 agenda items later.
2 agenda items. Oh,
Yes,
okay. Sorry.
later. Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone else online that desires to testify? If not, I just wanted to let everyone know, for the listeners out there as well as the committee members, I endeavored with Councilmember Tupola to craft a resolution that not only revitalized the task force, but I also wanted to, the reason I'm having it for discussion is I believe that it needs to be amended. And I'm looking for your thoughts. There's no time duration on the task force members. There's no various levels of expertise, for example. And actually, at this time, I want to give Councilmember Tupola an opportunity to talk about the resolution.
Thank you so much, Chair. And of course, thank you for this work that's super important, especially as we discuss agricultural amendments to Bill 64. I couldn't agree more with the woman from Waimanalo who suggested that if we had this, we would probably have a little bit more vetted conversations about the agricultural section. So I'm just going to highlight a few things in 24-243. On one of the bullet points in 2003, it actually said that the council had urged the administration to designate an agricultural development officer. Now, this is just a historic note for people, but it was important to me to note that back then in 2003, they thought that maybe even having an officer was important. In 2004, they suggested that a task force be created to talk about real property taxation of ag land. Then in 2004, they also talked about how does the city help to foster growth and enhancement of agricultural activities. I couldn't agree more that we need to have this advocacy even till today in 2024. And lastly, on page 4, it talks about expanding a grant program for farmers. So those are some of the historical points as to why this is important for us to renew and bring to light anew. But on the bottom of page 2, it does say the members of the agriculture community who served brought significant industry expertise, knowledge, motivation, commitment by implementing. So I think what was brought up by the gentleman earlier about the establishment of their characteristics is something that I'm hoping we will amend this with. He's suggesting that we have active farmers or ranchers. That would be great. We might even want to have more than that. As of right now, if you look on page 3, the only requirement of the task force is at least one task force member has expertise in traditional Native Hawaiian agricultural practices. At the council, we've actually designated various commissions and task force with specificity of what the membership should include, and I think that we should do that here. Lastly, the point brought up by the gentleman about putting on page 3, be it further resolved, maybe a number 9, stating that the focus of the group should include water infrastructure is absolutely crucial. So I'm just in support of this and have my own amendments and as well some amendments from ranchers and farmers in Waianae. As you know, a large part of my district is still very rural agriculture. We want to make sure to support our local farmers and ranchers in everything we do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Member. Members, just to, so that you know what my intention is that at the next hearing, which is going to be on November 21st at 9 a.m., I'm going to move forward the resolution for action. And I look forward to the establishment of the task force in the near future. For anyone who is interested in the task force, I need to let you know, and for the board members, I've put on your desk Council Communication 35 from 2019. And this is the length of the last task force in 2019. It's basically a page and a quarter paragraph. So I just want to put everybody on notice that if anybody wants to be on this task force, I'm not going to get a report like this. The report is going to has narrative and explanation for everything. So this is not a task force you want to get on just to say you're in a task force or for show. This is serious. And I expect a thorough report from this committee when it does come out. because I will not accept a report like this that doesn't basically say anything, okay? So thank you guys for this. Any members want to say anything before I move on to agenda item number 2? Councilmember Wire.
Mahalo, Chair. Wanted to just thank you, of course, and Councilmember Tupola for your insight and advocacy, and definitely support the direction. And so appreciate the work that you've been doing. I'm not sure of the timeline, but just wanted to throw out that if it's feasible, it may be useful for the group's first task to be looking at the finalized version of Bill 64 coming out of committee, and at least providing some immediate feedback and insight and direction, understanding that if we're putting it out a year for them to evaluate all city policy, just wanted to throw that out there as an option, but of course I'll be deferring to Chair on the timeline for the bill, underlying bill, and then of course the resol. Maybe wanted to just throw out that maybe acknowledging that we want to have folks that are working in or living and residing in the various council districts that I think have a larger stake in agricultural issues, understanding the appointment mechanism and the resolution. Just wanted to throw that out too. Is that, I think
Point well taken. And of course, after, should this move forward and get passed, then I would be looking for everybody's guidance and to submit recommendations. Any other, Councilmember Dos Santos Town?
Thank you, Vice Chair Kiaina. I really appreciate this. Part of this came up because of my attempts to go through and identify the various task forces, boards and commissions, and other ordinances that have been dropped, you might say. And this was a good example. In the early 2000s, this group was very active, but over the years, they haven't met. And so I think it behooves us as a council to stay on top of them and to give them clear direction. And so I appreciate this conversation. I will note that if there isn't a expiration date for the task force, and we're creating this as a permanent thing, we may want to do that in ordinance at some point and have a permanent task force that meets. Because otherwise, 20 years from now, they're going to say, man, back in 2024, when they created this new task force, it just was open-ended and they stopped meeting, and we're going to have to do this again. So for the council members 20 years from now, hopefully we'll do you a favor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. I thought about that, but there's something about fluidity that I like about this, because we're not constrained by the requirements of an ordinance. We could, but thank you for your comments. And I also need to let everyone know that because the next hearing is going to be likely the final hearing for Bill 64 as well as the PUDCP, that sending me your recommendations in a timely fashion would be greatly appreciated, not at the last minute, so that I could have enough time to consider it and then post it for the agenda. We're going to be moving on to agenda item number 2 for action, Bill 24, 2024. This bill will repeal the existing development plan for the primary urban center, Chapter 24, Article 2, revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021, and adopt a new Article 2 incorporating the revised development plan. The plan helps to guide public policy, investment, and decision-making related to development in the primary urban center, which extends from Kahala to Pearl City to Council Districts 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and nearly 20 neighborhood boards. Members, we have held a series of special community-based planning and the economy meetings to receive feedback and information from the communities within the plan area. At each of these community-based meetings, the Department of Planning and Permitting gave a brief description of highlights and focus areas relevant to the featured council district. The meetings were held as follows. On July 30th, 2024, at Moanalua High School Library, Councilmember Cordero's District 7. On August 12th, 2024, at the Kaimuki High School Theater, Chair Waters, District 4, and Councilmember Say's District 5. On August 26th, at Leeward Community College, Councilmember Okimoto's District 7. On September 23rd, at Kuananakoa Middle School, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam's District 6. We have listed on the agenda 3 council communications proposing amendments to the plan. First, we have Council Communication 258, 2024, proposed by Councilmember Cordero. We also have Council Communication 261, 2024, proposed by Councilmember Chair Waters. I have filed Council Communications 264 and 265, 2024, with my recommendations for each line item in Councilmember Cordero and Council Chair Waters' proposals respectfully. My proposed amendments can be found in Councilmember Communication 263, 2024. Councilmember Cordero and Council Chair Waters, if it's okay, we can go over our proposals in more detail when we get to discussion. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, yes, we do, and Smoke.
When I call your name, please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name for the record. Please conclude your remarks promptly when you hear the buzz of the timer. Please proceed. Yep.
Oh, there we go. Good morning, everybody. And thank you for your good work and taking care of the city. But I do have some things I'd like to bring up this morning. As a homeowner in the core of Punch Bowl Special District, I strongly oppose the adoption of the primary urban core development plan. The plan is filled with rhetoric that suggests it considers community and cultural values and the health and safety and well-being of our community, yet it provides no clear protections or safeguards for these values. The DPP plays a critical role in safeguarding the health, safety, and well-being of our communities. However, the folly and dysfunction of the state and city's affordable housing programs have compromised their ability to do that. I know this firsthand as I and hundreds of my neighbors witnessed the Paul Lamb project, 1617 Alapai Street, be expedited through permitting without transparency, without due process, and without oversight by DPP, City Council, or any state agency. Because it's a Bill 8 project, many critically important permitting restrictions like fire safety code, ADA compliance, and setback restrictions have been relaxed or exempted, and rules of the Punch Bowl Special District are completely disregarded. Nothing about the project mentioned and others like it align with the city's 2024 PUC. DPP is no longer equipped with the safety or design guardrails, processes, or authority provided the level of oversight needed for Bill 8 developments. The PUC should not allow for the degree of increased density in the PUC, and particularly within the core area, if government isn't going to guarantee protections of the communities, I'm wrapping it up, and their legitimate interests, and B, if there are no assurances that mechanisms are in place to halt the irresponsible and damaging build as a matter of right mentality that favor developers' interests. I have included in my written testimony some specific ideas and suggestions on how to improve the PUC. And as island residents, in conclusion, we should all imagine what downtown Honolulu and surrounding districts already dense in development will look like in 5 or 10 years from now if developers are given carte blanche to do whatever they want without community input, without the responsible and proper regulations, and without oversight by city and county. The neighborhoods that are being changed drastically by the sudden onslaught of inappropriate development that will cause permanent damage to the fabric and special nature of our Honolulu neighborhoods. So we ask you to modify the PUC to ensure that the protections of the residents, current and future, are taken care of. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Can I ask which district, who's your council member? Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, and he has kindly met with us to discuss this. Thank you.
Did you identify yourself?
Yes, I'm Ann Smoke.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And have you been in contact with him?
Oh, yeah, we met. He kindly met with us.
Okay.
And
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Members, any questions? Are there any other in-person testifiers? Please proceed to the podium and identify yourself.
Aloha, my name is Jazzer Kata. I just wanted to come here and say that I found out about this yesterday, and here I am. And to hear what is happening and standing up for my town of Aiea, I am really shocked that this plan is even being proposed. I understand the economic situation of the islands and that we need homes. But doing so and turning small areas into what we will now see as Waikiki, A'ole, I cannot allow that to happen. If you think that this is the right thing to do because you need to put people in homes, Aiea still has water underneath it. It is still flowing, and people view it as this prime development. And what then? How much more can my small town give you? It was once Lo'ikalo. It was once a place where the chiefs would bathe. It was once a place of the fish ponds. What do we have now? Aloha Stadium. What is being proposed? We have people coming in and wanting to build things, and it is us, the OPO, standing up. When the Kapuna told us about this, they couldn't make it, so here I am, standing up when they needed us the most. My friends at the University of Hawaii, my friends at Aiea High School, they cannot leave school right now to be here. I'm not scared and saying that, oh, not in my backyard. What I am saying is, look deeper into this. I'm saying you have to get community input, because if we don't get community input, true, real community input, what we will realize is what we think we're doing the good thing, and 10, 20 years from now, it will be me who cannot afford the new kaka'ako in my town. And now I have to live on my Ohana's homestead in Nanakuli and Waianae. Where will I go? To my Ohana that currently lives in Las Vegas? No, Hawaii is my home. I don't want to leave. Thank you, mahalo.
Can you identify yourself, please?
My name is Jazzer Kata.
Thank you so much for testifying. Members, do you have any questions? And then thank you for your passionate testimony. I do have to tell you that there have been extensive hearings by DPP as well as this committee. And there are nearly 20 neighborhood boards that are a part of this. All of the emails for all of the neighborhood boards, all of your neighborhood boards have been notified. So if you have any concrete recommendations, or you just adamantly pose it and don't have any recommendations, I highly recommend that you work with your council member.
May I just add one thing before I sit down, and that's the Aiea Community Association has recommendations, and yesterday they came out and publicly opposed this. So I listened to the association.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to testify? If not, we're going to move on to remote testimony. Clerks, are there any remote testifiers?
Chair, yes, there is.
When I call your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number, please follow the prompts to unmute and begin by stating your name for the record. When the timer on screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Danielle Espiritu, are you on? If you can unmute yourself, please, and please proceed.
Aloha, can you folks hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Aloha kako, my name is Danielle Espiritu, and I'm testifying in opposition to the PUCDP on behalf of Ho'olahoia Kalawau, a nonprofit organization restoring Aina and Kanaka in the Ahupu of Kalawau and Ewa Oahu. We malama a spring-fed lo'ikalo and mala space at Kaunohi, which is the last lo'ikalo for several ahupua'a in either direction, in an area once renowned for freshwater springs and innovative food systems. First, mahalo nui to the council's leadership in engaging military entities that are threatening our Wai'anae people, in the ways that you folks have stood up for that. We ask that you consider the same when it comes to urban development and not approve the PUCDP. We also appreciate the revisions that include language to protect Native Hawaiian cultural, historic, and pre-contact sites and monuments. But this can't be done in a vacuum, especially in spaces like us that are spring-fed. Any development in the surrounding community will directly impact the aquifer and our ability to remain in the space that we're in. And so we ask that you listen to us as the canary in the coal mine, saying that we're in trouble, that this is not sustainable, and that we need to stop. And if we're really wanting to respect culture and knowledge, let's invest in rebuilding our food systems, replanting our native forests, supporting OEV education, not just from textbooks or carvings or murals that will talk about things in the past, but really by investing in our community and the practitioners that are present and restoring the OEV food systems in those spaces. And so just a reminder to the council, mahalo nui for your work, but also we cannot just operate separately from everything else. Everything that happens, the development that happens in the area is going to impact our ability to remain there. And so we are already struggling. It's not too far gone, but it'll require Aina-focused, kupuna-inspired, and innovative solutions. And so mahalo, and would love to partner with you folks.
Thank you so much. And can I also ask who your council member is?
Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you so much. Clerks, do we have anyone else standing by remotely?
Chair, there are none.
If there's anyone online who would like to testify, please raise your hand. Seeing none. Before we bring up the administration, I just wanted to say that the Department of Planning and Permitting has made multiple presentations on the plan, including an overview when we had an informational briefing on the plan, as well as presentations at each of the community-based meetings that focused on specific council districts. And actually, I don't actually have the administration's, they didn't provide it. DPP, would you like to provide some comments before we go into discussion with the specific of the council member amendments?
Thank you, Chair. Donna Puna, Director of DPP. I think we stand on our written testimony that was submitted, but we're here for any questions. Thank you.
And Councilmember Chair Waters and Councilmember Cadero, I know that you have a specific amendment, so it was my plan to go over in discussion all of our amendments, but I'm going to give you the option to either ask questions now or wait until we go into our amendments. What would you like? Would you like to ask questions now?
I don't have any questions at this point.
Councilmember Cordero, do you have any questions?
I'll wait for discussion.
Councilmember DeSantis Tam.
Thank you. Just as a process-oriented question, and this is for Ms. Smoke and the concerns of the neighbors in the Punch Bowl Special District, to what extent can we make modifications to the special district plans by way of the primary urban center development plan? Or is this a completely separate process? If DPP could clarify that for the record.
Good morning. This is Dina Wong. I'm the chief of DPP's planning division. If the primary urban center development plan gets adopted and calls for changes or policies that would be needed in the special district, that would need to be done in an LUO amendment. And we have Alex Bade here if you have specific questions on the special district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, if there are no more questions, we're going to go into discussion. Councilmember Cordero, would you like to explain your amendments in Council Communication 258-2024?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, my amendments were worked on with members from our community, and I understand that we have further amendments and requests from the area community. All of my amendments to the plan, and except for the first one, relate to the area. First off, we addressed part of the language when it related to the reference via Town Center Master Plan, where we just focused on how there are current plans, but also construction that will fulfill the community's requests for senior housing. And so instead of stating to provide a master plan or to provide new units, it basically says that we are fulfilling, so in the current state, so which is why that language for fulfilling is currently there, is proposed. Next, we, oh, actually, those are the last two amendments there. And then we also referred to potential as opposed to proposed redevelopment of the Kamehameha Drive-In, as there is no proposed development currently. Next is the language that was worked on for a broad plan for preserving Native Hawaiian cultural and historic sites within the full primary urban center. I have received the email from the member of the community that we've worked on the language with. As mentioned with Councilmember Okimoto's constituent Jazzer Kata on certain discussions that occurred at the Community Association. So we'll definitely look into that further prior to the next primary urban center development plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Cordero. Council Chair Waters, would you like to explain your amendments in Council Communication 261, 2024?
Yes, thank you. But before I start, I'd like to point out that DPP's testimony dated October 21st, 2024, signed by Don Takeuchi Apuna, the director, is not approved by the managing director. There does not have the signature. I'd like to thank you, Chair Kia Aina, for taking this committee out into the community. As you mentioned, there are numerous meetings that we conducted out in the community. You know, I'm a little disappointed in DPP though, because numerous members of my community have complained that outreach was not enough and that they had no idea what was going on with this plan. But I also appreciate your comments that you made at each one of these meetings that you would defer to the area council members because we know the district best. And I appreciate that as well. I've lived in this district almost all of my life. The rest of the part of my life, I lived in your district. But I know this district pretty well. I've walked door to door over the years and talked to many, many constituents. In fact, during these last couple elections, I've knocked on over 15,000 doors. And I brought the shoes to prove it. You know, puka in this shoe, and this one's falling apart. And I'm proud of that fact. And I know many of us have done the same. And I talk to my constituents. I go to the neighborhood boards, Kaimuki neighborhood boards, Kapahulu neighborhood boards, Kahala neighborhood boards. And while I'm walking door to door, Mrs. Chinen from Kaimuki, Mr. Wong, Mr. Imanaka, the Turbans, the Pines, and they all told me what they want to see this plan. In fact, they don't want to be part of the urban core. They want to be part of the East Honolulu Sustainable Communities Plan. But I told them that I would fight and work hard for them to get these amendments in. And basically, we're preserving the character of the neighborhoods as they currently exist. Yeah, the amendments that I'm suggesting reflect what my community wants. And I urge council members to support my amendments. Otherwise, I am a no vote on this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Waters. My proposed amendments in Council Communications 263, 2024 would amend the hazard mitigation and emergency management provisions in Chapter 7, which cover community-led actions, and Chapter 11, which cover city agency-led actions, to make them more robust and specific and to address the realities faced today. These amendments include prioritizing the empowering residents with resources and tools for preparedness, strengthening language on community resilience, and incorporate more community organizations related to emergency management and resiliency, including discussion of a potential citizen advisory commission on emergency management, incorporating discussion of response teams, neighborhood boards, and neighborhood watches, adding a discussion of wildfires, especially in the aftermath of Maui's Lahaina wildfire, and including lessons learned and applicability to Oahu, incorporating an analysis and assessment post-Maui fire by the Department of Emergency Management, and including a discussion of the Mayor's Interagency Committee on Wildfire Mitigation and Management. Members, we are in discussion. Councilmember Say.
Yes, yes, thank you very much. I am in strong support of Chair Waters' amendments. Born and raised in Palolo Valley, the impact of Wailea Avenue and Kapahulu Avenue will have a tremendous impact as far as what the present zoning is. Recognizing that, I can understand what DPP is saying in the overall plan that was adopted in 2018, 4 years ago. That was before our time, or 6 years ago before our time. That things have changed, and things have changed not for the good, but for the worse of our residents. Sight view is a very important part of Wilhelmina Rise, Manalani Heights, St. Louis Heights, Allen Castor Street, etc. We are moving very, very rapidly as far as creating more and more density, which as a chair of the zoning committee, I've always supported DPP. And, you know, the question will be, can we just go slow, incorporate Chair Waters' amendments, which we have the authority, and please consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember DeSantis Tam.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I did not submit amendments for this hearing, but I hope to do so for the next hearing, and we're working on them. And they'll be focused mainly on transportation-related language in the plan, as well as some of the apartment zoning standards that we've discussed in previous hearings, including making sure that the proposal in our shared amendment, our shared resolution that we put forward for apartment zoning are going to be incorporated into this plan and reflected moving forward.
Thank you so much. Members, any other input? Vice Chair Cordero, do you have any input? Do you want to say anything?
No, but I have a question for the department, either for Ms. Wong or whomever.
Sure. Could DPP come to the podium? Please proceed.
Hi, Ms. Wong. Thank you very much for being present. I have questions relating to my last two amendments as it relates to the the growth scenario for 500 units, which includes current senior housing units at the mill site and assumes some info around the town center. I have some proposed language that I have to look into further, but are there discussions and has the department received requests to decrease or reduce the amount of units for the growth scenario, and how would that look like, and also how would we be able to best place language to address that?
As far as I know, we have not received anything more on that growth scenario, and we are in support of your proposed amendments.
Okay, thank you. I will be looking into, once again, I do have, I believe it's 4 pages of testimony as it relates to these amendments, but I'm hoping that we can have a productive discussion outside of this committee to discuss what further amendments are proposed for my community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
DPP, before I make my recommendations, I did note some of your concerns expressed in your letter dated October 21st, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to say something. Otherwise, I'm going to move forward with my recommendations.
Okay, DPP reviewed the 3 council communications, and our position is detailed in the letter. We are in support of Vice Chair Cordero's amendments, and yours, Chair Kia. I know we noted in our letter we had some concerns about the definition of the resilience hubs. Per direction from Department of Emergency Management, we suggest that the language be broadened. And we also included some input from the fire department to add more details on their future planning efforts. With respect to Chair Waters' amendments, the majority of the amendments were brought to Planning Commission, and we were asked by Planning Commission to provide a response, which we did. They were not passed by or supported by Planning Commission, except included were the 2 amendments to panoramic views and to change the place type designation for the area east of Kapahulu Avenue. He had a couple of amendments in there that were new that we have not seen before. One we are in support of. It was changing the place type designation for the Wailai Avenue corridor. And the second one that was new was to change the designation for the area along Kuhio Avenue, pretty much the entire length, Mauka, 1 zoning lot in, to change it to a resort designation. So that amendment we are opposed to.
Thank you. Can I ask, how important is it for you to get the overall PUDCP plan completed before the ending of the year? How important is the plan to you?
It is very important to the DPP, and I would think for the city as a whole that this plan gets adopted. We were hoping by the end of this year, and if not, hopefully early part of next year, that it does get adopted. The existing plan is 20 years old, and I think everyone, the city and the community, will benefit from an updated plan. And to that extent, you know, we are more than willing to work with your staff, Chair Waters' staff, to come to an agreement if you so desire to have our input further.
Thank you so much. Given the fact that today is the 22nd and I got this October 21st, not in enough time to make any modifications, and given the fact that I made a commitment to all of my colleagues that I would be deferring to them with regard to taking care of matters before their district, my amendments dealt with subject matters that affect all of Oahu, really. I believe that we need to be conscious of emergency preparedness protocols moving forward. So having said that, because if I were to hold this bill up because of your concerns, it's not getting done before the ending of the year. So I just wanted to let you know what my plan is. I'm recommending that Bill 2024 be amended to a CD1 that incorporates all of the amendments listed in Councilmember Cordero's Council Communication 258, 2024, incorporates all of the amendments listed in Council Chair Waters' Council Communication 261, 2024, and incorporates all of the amendments listed in my Council Communication 263, 2024. This is to keep the measure moving forward. We have an opportunity on November 21st. I highly suggest that the department continue discussions with Chair Waters with regard to any concerns, and I will also be looking at your concerns in preparation for the next hearing. Members, any objections to my recommendations? Any reservations? Hearing none, the bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 24, 2024 CD1 be reported out for passage on second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any further discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered.
Chair, it's Radiant.
Vice Chair Cordero.
Would you be able to share exactly again the timeline for us to submit our next round of amendments? Is it for council or is it for your next committee?
No, I will not be accepting any amendments for full council. So full council is going to be on November 7th. And then we're going to have committee on November 21st. So I'll be accepting amendments for the November 1st committee with anticipation of full passage on December, anybody, full council? 11th. Thank you. Is that okay with you, Vice Chair Cordero?
I just wanted to know the time, how long we have to work with our community. Thank you.
Yes, you have time to work with your community in anticipation of the November 21st hearing. Okay, I'm okay, right? So I made my recommendations. I'm now moving on to agenda item number 3 for action. Bill 64, 2023, FD1. This bill will address the regulation of uses throughout Chapter 21 revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021, the land use ordinance. Members, please note that we posted on the agenda the proposed CD1 to the bill, identified as OCS 2024-907, which incorporates amendments that were approved by the committee at its meeting on September 26, 2024. As I mentioned, and as detailed in Council Communication 25-254-2024 and the posted agenda, at today's meeting, I am prioritizing amendments relating to the miscellaneous use category and will consider cleanup amendments to all use categories. Before I call up the administration, I would like to take public testimony. Proceeding first with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, yes, we do.
When I call your name, please come forward to the testifier podium and begin by stating your name for the record. Please conclude your remarks promptly when you hear the buzz of the timer. The first testifier is Mark Anthony Clement.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members. My name is Mark Anthony Clemente, testifying on behalf of the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters. I stand by my written testimony, but there's a couple things I'd like to highlight. We are in strong support of the proposed amendments to Bill 64 as outlined in items numbers 4 and 5 in Councilmember Tupola's Council Communication 255. These proposed changes to the LUO are consistent with the Oahu General Plan as well as the EVA Development Plan. Also, we strongly urge the committee to restore the joint development provisions currently contained in the LUO. That is in Chapter 21-5.380 regarding joint development of 2 or more adjacent subdivision lots, and Chapter 21-5.380A regarding the joint development of 2 or more adjacent subdivision lots, the Waikiki Special District or Ala Moana Transit-Oriented Development Special District. With respect to the, if I could just wrap up with joint development agreements, these contribute to efficient and beneficial land use, and we respectfully request that the joint development provisions be reinserted in Bill 64. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We are looking at the joint developer agreements. There may be modifications because there's concerns over the current mechanism for joint developer agreements. So thank you so much. Members, any questions? Thank you. The next testifier is Tony Kowal.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Tony Kowal. I've lived on Oahu for 20 years, and I work for Terraform Power. Thank you very much for the opportunity to provide comments today on Bill 64 regarding large wind energy generation facilities. Terraform Power owns and operates the 30-megawatt Kahuku Wind Farm, which was the first large wind facility on Oahu. The wind farm powers 14,000 homes annually and supports good-paying local jobs in the North Shore. With Hawaii's 100% renewable energy mandate by 2045, Wind energy plays a critical role as we transition away from fossil fuels and supports overall reliability of the grid as we face increasing power outages. I'd like to highlight a few key points. One, wind is clean, produces no harmful air pollution, and costs substantially less than high-priced fossil fuels. Two, wind facilities occupy far less land than other renewables and are compatible with other land uses. For example, we have a successful cattle ranching tenant that extensively grazes throughout the wind farm. Now, regarding, and I'll wrap up here shortly. Now, regarding the revisions to Bill 64, we support revisions to the current amendments that would permit these facilities, these existing facilities, to operate as a conforming use without time constraints, both now and in the future, and allow us to finance long-term investments into the facility to help maintain and modernize the facility. Without such revisions, there may be, our facility may not be able to operate in the future, which would lead to negative impacts on energy reliability, energy affordability, and job loss, while also increasing.
Can you please wrap up?
While also increasing our dependence on high-priced fossil fuels. Mahalo for your consideration.
The next testifier is Kamuela Cobb Adams.
Aloha, Chair Kiaina, Vice Chair Cordero, and esteemed committee members. My name is Kamuela Cobb Adams. I'm the Managing Director of Asset Management for Kamehameha Schools. Mahalo for this opportunity to testify. Kamehameha Schools appreciates Councilmember Ware and Tupola for introducing these amendments and the Chair for considering the Aina-based education facility use on agricultural lands. We firmly believe that Aina-based education is essential to fostering the deep connection between land for our keiki to learn from today, from our past, and to plan for agricultural lands in the future. Some Aina-based educational partners face challenges under the existing regulations. They either are operating under broader categories of meeting facilities which do not fully recognize the unique nature of the Aina-based education and are unable to develop needed facilities to support next generation farmers and Aina-based professionals. By creating this category, we will be clear statement that Aina education is valuable and necessary component to our Aina. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Councilman Shea.
Cobb Adams, what is the definition of a Aina-based education?
Good question. It's basically going to be facilities that are utilized for the education of agriculture and Aina-based education. So to define that, I think we're going to have to sit down and work with DPP as to a process that not only defines it more clearly, but allows for the good actors to utilize these facilities and enforcement against bad actors. And so we're happy to have those discussions with DPP.
Yeah, the concern is what you stated for the record is, it's the bad actors that I worry about.
Correct.
That will probably say that, oh, we're going to be doing a Aina-based education program and da-da-da-da-da. I truly believe that Kamehameha Schools is a very, very reliable, community-oriented organization, and more importantly for the kids of Hawaiian ancestry. So I was just making some reference when I was a young kid. Would a Aina-based education be maybe situated in Honolulu or Wainiha? What I'm getting at is that that's the kalo that we talk about. So I'm just happy that you folks are considering it, yes, as Aina base. And Madam Chair, you just have to be worried about the other big landowners that may use Aina-based education as a tool to proliferate what we call, for me, gentleman farms. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Any other Questions? Councilmember Tupola.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, thank you for being here. And this, I got the note from your office, will be taken up next month, correct? As far as this particular amendment for INA-based facilities. So we'll continue to work with the stakeholders and with DPP, iron out any language that we need to see if we can't get this inserted. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? As a former land asset manager for Kamehameha schools on agricultural lands, I'm clearly very empathetic. I know your programs. I think the concerns that have been raised by the Department of Planning and Permitting have to do with the appropriate area that would need to be modified because if you create a new category, there could be unintended consequences. So as I've mentioned previously, I highly recommend that you get together with the department prior to the next meeting. But thank you for being here today.
Thank you. We will.
The next testifier is Rosalind McCullough.
Mahalo, Chair. On behalf of, I'm Roz McCullough, Kamehameha Schools, Director of Government Relations. On behalf of Kamehameha Schools, Kamuela Cobb Adams covered our testimony. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. The next question is, the next testifier is Raquel Achu.
Good morning, thank you. Raquel Achu, Wailua Moku. I appreciate all of the amendments. I just want to do, my goal is always to beat this timer, so my goal is to rattle off through these real quick. Mostly notes. To Chair Kia'aina, I'm hoping that in the, I think it's page 2 of your amendments, with the reference to the off-road motorized vehicles, I feel it's worth adding verbiage including not for entertainment, recreation, or amusement. I think that's what we've been battling mostly on our ag lines pretty consistently. Also, on page 8, with reference to item number 21, there's mention here of important agricultural lands. In our experience on our side, that has led to a little bit of confusion since IAL was never passed or completed, and it creates a little bit of confusion there. Councilmember Wyer's amendments, very appreciative for the add-ins of items number 1 and 2. However, item number 8 with the joint development, I completely understand the intent there, but do have concerns with the ability for compliance, and I think it needs to just be a little more discussion to clarify. And Councilmember Tupola, item number 8, just a note because we're talking about the animals, animal care and their housing, and there's reference here to noise. I'm just gonna note that that's sometimes very difficult. Neighbors do call police when your horses neigh, and that's really hard to to control. So there is a little bit of a room there to clarify. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? The next testifier is Sundance Gohier.
Hi, hello, me again. Yeah, I'm from the east side, Carlisle. I grew up, I told you guys, I'm kind of in farming, pig farming, chicken farming and all that. And I feel like I'm like kind of the last of the generation that grew up, caught the tail end when the whole East Coast from Kaneohe all the way to Honolulu was pastures, plantations, you know, like taro farms, sweet potato farms. And right where Windward Mall was like literally my playground where I had cows all in there and a little river. Now it's there no more, it's more understandable, but now how ironic it is, 40 years, 30, 40 years later, what's holding Windward Mall afloat is a farmer's market. You know, that's how important I believe you guys should be enhancing farmers as such as myself. What I realized by me just following this bill, a land that I purchased was considered ag land, and I called my uncle, hey, did your zoning get changed? Now it's called country zone, and I just found out within a week ago. Like, how can this happen? 40, 50 years ago, the entire East Coast was considered pastures, plantations, and then now, you know, I'm a country zone now. And then I remember you brought up a grandfather clause on a previous stuff, and I don't want to fall into that category, what happened to my uncles with being grandfathered in, and then they got rubbed out as new subdivisions got built. Why, but I guess nobody understand how the grandfather clause or was written in the 80s, what pushed my uncles on, was just going by head counts of per animal, per head. Then that's all what we could raise. But being a farmer, we don't raise that exact amount yearly. It's not a machine, you know, we got good production breeding seasons and then weather related, sell, rent, or whatever. You know, we're not gonna hold that number all year round. So that's what I'm worried about my time. And I gotta find out with my councilman, like, oh, what happened? I gotta go dig up my deed. And just going on the internet, I realize I'm in a country zone and I purchased in a private lane. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, something like that, I guess.
Can you please wrap up, please?
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, we should be writing more bills to enhance, encourage, being with the recent threat of the longshoremen. You know, like it's very important that we can be self-sustainable. And I got an acre, you know, and I got a lot of friends with a quarter acre, half acre, you know, and these laws are like kind of like written to where I need 5+ acres to be able to be self-sustainable. Where I know a lot of my friends and families can develop and be self-sustainable in just like a quarter acre. You know, but the bills, the zoning, how you guys write it, like it's meant for all leased lands and different areas. But like I feel like I grew up in one area that was considered pastures and plantations.
Thank you so much. Members, do you have any questions? Thank you for your testifying. The next testifier is Ramsey Brown.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, Council members. My name is Ramsey Brown. I'm with Kuilima Farm out in Kahuku. I stand by my written testimony, but there is something that I didn't get to add that we're getting clarification on, and that is farm stands. So we operate farm stands on the side of Kamehameha Highway, and we have 11 tenant farmers, and 3 of those tenant farmers have the opportunity to sell their produce. And so now there are 3 individual farm stands. And some of the clarification that I need is it then going to become a farmer's market because this limits you to 1 farm stand? But we have a total of 12 farmers, including ourselves, Pono Pacific. So that's just something I'd put out there for you. I can connect with my council member as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Thank you for testifying. The next testifier is Anne Marie Smoke. I don't see Anne Marie, so the next testifier is Micah Munikata.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Micah Munikata here on behalf of Ulupono Initiative. We stand in our testimony with comments. Again, really appreciate all the efforts that have gone into this. You know, Councilmember Tupola, Councilmember Wire, you guys have put a lot of attention to this, obviously, with your districts touching on agriculture issues. And Chair, it's been great working with you and your staff to really come up with some of these amendments that are proposed today, and we really do support a lot of the amendments pushed forward by you, Chair. Including the supplemental. I did want to reference maybe just one quick thing regarding the agritourism amendment. On standard 6, we're looking to remove the language require major conditional use approval. Again, I think when it comes to ag tourism, we don't believe that it's so much a regulation problem, but more an enforcement problem. So again, that's where we're coming with regarding that particular request. We do appreciate the 51% language, again, being put in. Again, it's 51% of farmable land, actual land available for production. And we do feel that, you know, we recognize that it might be hard to determine what that could be. But, you know, just today, this morning, we're talking about an ag task force that could also support with helping to identify what some of those ag lands actually are. I think that's where that resource comes on board. And then, of course, we're also recommending a general recommendation around, you know, putting a staffer within DPP that could kind of help with some of that future planning or some of that future policy change that might be needed. Did want to just mention real briefly again on some of these competing uses on our ag land.
Sure, but you're just going to have to be concise.
Real quickly, Chair. Just some of these things around group living, meeting facilities, school, pre-K, and daycares. We just continue to have concerns with how that will interact with production agriculture. Even if it's on Ag 2 and you have that percentage that makes sure that people are producing, we still have concerns around some of the historical issues that have come whenever there's a competing interest that comes on ag land. They don't always mesh well. And so we still have the recommendation to remove it from Ag 2 land. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Thank you. The next testifier is Mariah Yoshizu. Is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to testify? Please proceed to the podium and identify yourself. Seeing none, we are moving. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, yes, we do.
When I call your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number, please follow the prompts to unmute and begin by stating your name for the record. When the timer or screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. The first testifier is Tom Holowach.
Hi, I'm Tom Holowach, and I'm actually in California testifying because this is so important. For those of you who don't know about Popoke Place, Hawaii Cat Sanctuary, we are trying to get permission to use agricultural land to create a sanctuary based on the Lanai Cat Sanctuary, where we trap feral cats, get them off the beaches, and where they can endanger shorebirds and other animals and put them in a permanent pasture. Now, we're caught between a rock and a hard place with a wording in the new definition of animal raising confined. It does talk about the fact that there's a list of animals that can be on ag land, and it does say, for purposes, as long as these animals are not raised as household pets, for purposes of personal use and companionship. And that describes us. We are not an animal shelter. We are not a kennel. And yet, at the end of that phrase, it says, this definition does not belong to animal shelters. See animal care, and animal care is listed under commercial developments. Now, Consul Tupola, I think you indicated to me that you were working on this, thinking about it. If Chair Waters is still there, Tommy, this is the one we thought we would need to get lawyers for, but I don't think we need lawyers. I'm asking you, Matt, you've been working on this with us. Esther, you've been working on this for 2 years with us. Where do we belong? We say that we are not commercial and that we belong in Ag 2 land. We do not want any important agricultural lands. We just want the right to have an animal sanctuary, which is permanent on Ag 2 land. So that's what we want. I open it up to you. What are your recommendations?
Thank you so much. Thank you for your...
that does not care for animals for personal use.
Tom, you've gone over your time by a minute already. Over your time.
Okay, I'll stop.
Councilmember Tupola, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Tom, I just wanted to let you know that I did submit the amendment that would help your situation. I did meet with DPP. They are in favor of this amendment. Although it wasn't accepted, I will be bringing it up in discussion today, and I'll hope to further, explain why this is necessary. So just know that I'm advocating for you, that it's going to come up soon, and we shall see how it goes. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And we spoke to Liz Krieger about it a little bit, and I think she understands a little bit more. So thank you all for your assistance. Thank you, Chair.
The next testifier is Sunny Unga.
Aloha, this is Sunny Unga on behalf of Kahuku Community Association. We strongly support Chair Kia'aina's proposed amendments overall regarding setbacks on large wind turbines, and we respectfully request 2 amendments under subsection G2. We urge the Council to set a height limit to cap the maximum height at 568 and add language to ensure that the increase in turbine height does not violate existing 1-to-1 setback ratio. This request arises from concerns of our community evidenced by more than 200 residents being arrested protesting the AES wind project because they were placed near our residential zoned area and schools. They are already too big and too close and pose significant risk to safety and quality of life. And allowing AES to further increase their turbine size would exacerbate these issues. Please remember that there has been 2 variance requests already, and AES as a new project, it is critical that we establish proper safeguards now and allow these developers to plan accordingly. We hope that the council will keep safety and well-being of our community in mind and also ensure responsible and sustainable development of wind energy. And I'm open for questions.
Members, any questions? Thank you so much for your testimony. The next testifier is Taylor Campbell. Taylor?
Hi, I testified for the amendment earlier. I have no comments at this time for this portion of your meeting.
Okay, thank you. The next testifier is Stephanie Kendrick. Is Stephanie online?
Chair, she's not logged on.
If not, we're going to move to Chun James.
Chair, testifier is not logged on.
Olan Lemomi Fisher.
Aloha mai kākou. I'm Olani Momi Fisher, advocate for Kua'aina Uluawamo, also known as KUA. We serve as a support organization for 3 statewide networks, including our largest network known as our Hui Malama Loko I'a or Hawaiian Fish Pond Network. We strongly support Councilmember Kia'aina's proposed amendments regarding local I'a caretaker units, and we just really appreciate and mahalo her staff for working with us and connecting with some of our network community local I'a caretakers on this. Many local EL practitioners are working to restore their ponds to be fully functional once again, and to be truly revitalized and restored, these ponds require constant care and attention at all hours of the day. And these amendments facilitate effective kilo or observation, proper management and care, and the much needed security presence for not only the ponds themselves, but surrounding nearshore ecosystems. Local EL have the proven potential to benefit all of Hawaii by increasing biodiversity, food security, and jobs, as well as numerous educational, spiritual, and cultural benefits for perpetuating Native Hawaiian culture and practices. So we just really hope that this is passed, and we see the city and county of Honolulu as a leader in recognizing the importance of local i'a, and hope that other counties will follow suit to help benefit fish ponds. Please pass the amendments. Thank you so much.
Thank you for testifying. Members, any questions? If not, we're going to move forward to Mike Foley.
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in this important measure. Chair, I'm strongly concerned and opposed to the language of your amendment on farm dwellings. Standard 4 requires an agricultural easement in order to obtain approval for a farm dwelling. Obtaining an agricultural easement is a difficult process. There is no application. There's only one property on Oahu that has successfully completed this. This is for a farm up on the North Shore. They did it in order to receive approvals for offering wedding venues, which is a much more economically beneficial venue than farm housing for farmers. There's other methods besides easements to maintain control that agricultural land is used for agricultural purposes, such as agricultural dedication through the Real Property Assessment Division, or by requiring a gross annual income standard for the sales of agricultural products from farms. Please revise your proposed amendment to make it more feasible that farmers can live and farm on their land by having this important housing resource. We all know how, as it is, farm housing is in short supply. Thank you.
Michael, thank you for your testimony, and actually thank you for your continuing advocacy and monitoring. I agree with you.
Thank you, Chair.
In looking at the language, I was focused on the 51%, and I concur that saying an agricultural easement or similar legal encumbrance is just too much, and that was not my intent. That will be modified, and I'll be looking for the appropriate language as we move forward. So thank you for being here today.
Mahalo, Chair. Thank you so much.
The next testifier is Greg Shimokawa.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Greg Shimulkov for Hawaiian Electric. You have our comments already previously on the wind setback language for the existing existing currently drafted language. So I'm not going to comment on that today. Did want to note on the agricultural language, some new language. Wanted to just note for consideration the minimum 51% for wind farms for crop production or livestock. Just wanted to bring to the attention of the council potential unintended consequences of including that requirement. That it may be detrimental to the existing energy uses on that, for those facilities. So just wanted to make note in a written testimony about, safety or attracting nuisance wildlife that may affect existing permitting or other considerations. So just wanted to bring that up for future thought and consideration.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments, but I need to ask, you do agree that since you're on agricultural lands, you need to do something that's agricultural related, correct?
Sure. No objections to doing agricultural purposes on agricultural land. Just want to make sure that there's no conflict, especially with the existing facilities that are out there.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, any questions? If not, we're going to go to Derek Brown. No, Bowen. Derek, are you online?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Please proceed. Derek, I seem to have...
Chair, it looks like, yeah, he logged off.
Okay, no worries. We may have lost him and he'll sign back on. Is there anyone else standing by remotely who would like to testify on this item? Please use the raise hand feature to indicate your desire to speak. I see Karen O'Mahony. Karen, would you like to proceed?
Yes, thank you. I was stunned to see when I checked in on this bill that after all the previous written and oral testimony that clearly demonstrated the damage a livestock setback would cause Oahu residents, that it was added back in Section 8. There's a 100-foot setback and also next to any zoning now, and an addition of no noise, dust, or smell. So even though it's said here that you're against bad actors, what you have written actually punishes the good actors, specifically small livestock ranchers. There's no problem going on with ranchers and farmers who have livestock. This setback doesn't solve an actual problem. It just hurts residents who are farmers. The addition of livestock not making noise, smell, or dust is also absurd. Item 8 should enhance farmers, not rub them out, as was stated earlier. For instance, if you have a 1-acre property, Esther, that's 208 feet by 208 feet. That's a 1-acre measurement. So if you have a 100-foot setback, you get to use 75 square feet in the center of your acre for livestock. And my property, for instance, is 220 feet wide, which means I would have 20 square feet, a strip of 20 feet that I could use. So we need to not have the setback. We need to not have the noise, dust, and smell ordinance against livestock. And with the addition of an agriculture task force and the existing laws, that will adequately address any problems that could arise in the future. But as we all know, there's no influx of people saying, oh, the livestock next to me smells or makes dust. That's what happens when you have livestock. So maybe this was a mistake that this got added back in. I'm not sure. I was really surprised to see that it was back in there.
Karen, thank you for your testimony. And I had made a notation on setback, so I will work with my staff, DPP, and Councilmember Tupola on looking at that before the next hearing in November. Councilmember Tupola?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick statement, Karen. So some of the setbacks we talked about were only required if there was a IMX, BMX zoning next to an ag lot, which I stated just because a commercial property comes next to an ag lot doesn't mean all of a sudden we have to downsize, right? Because agriculture came first, period. Farmers, ranchers came first. So in the written law, it said that if that was the case, that you were next to a IMX, BMX zoning or somebody with an apartment building, that you would have to have these setbacks. But if you're like ag lot to ag lot, that it's not required. Anyways, long story short, I'm trying to say I agree with you that I'm not in favor of the setbacks as it kind of decreases the amount of ag use for farmers and ranchers. But in the two ones that I had amended, it specifically stated that the setback was due to any apartment building being next to it. But I will look at it. I will work with Councilmember Kiana because I do remember her saying that she also wanted to look at the setback. So we're cognizant of it, and I think we're all on the same page. We just need to make sure that it's written correctly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe I read it wrong, but to me it looked like all of us were going to have a 100-foot setback and be able to use none of our land. Thank you.
The next testifier I see is Roar Cares. Please proceed.
Aloha. Yes, Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of Roar Cares. And we're going to be testifying just to speak up for the anticipation if there will be hundreds of cats being rescued. In light of the rescue work, there's been an influx of
We're losing you.
So there's also been, oh yes, administratively.
Melody, we're losing you. Okay, is there anyone else online that would like to testify? Please raise the hand button. If not, we're going to move forward. Members, if it's okay, before I entertain questions by all of the members, I would like to first focus our discussion and questions for the Department of Planning and Permitting by subject and then open it up to any other questions. We will start with miscellaneous uses, which is the primary focus of this meeting. Then we will take up the other use categories for which council members have proposed amendments. We will cover the different uses in this order: miscellaneous uses, agricultural uses, residential uses, public, civic, and institutional uses, commercial uses, and others. Members, my amendments being considered today continue to update the use table, use standards, and definitions to try to address concerns expressed by both industry groups and the public regarding the impacts of different uses and how to mitigate these impacts, and to clarify what types of activity each specific use includes and does not include. With regard to the miscellaneous uses, I am recommending amendments to delete the transfer of development use for historic properties from the use table and delete the related standards. A previous CD2 version of Bill 10 had already deleted provisions related to the transfer of development to retreat from the shoreline. The transfer of development is not really a land use, so it should probably not be listed as a use table entry or regulated in Land Use Ordinance Article 5. In addition, more thought and analysis was needed to better address how the transfer of development rights would work. For example, things we may want to think about include establishing limits on distances within which development rights can be transferred, establishing limits on the amount of development rights that can be used on a receiving lot, and whether and the extent to which development rights can be transferred to zoning lots in different zoning districts. For example, can you transfer rights from a zoning lot in the resort district to a zoning lot in the Ag 2 district? Since transfer of development is not really a land use and probably belongs in a different land use ordinance article, we plan to work with the Department of Planning and Permitting to consider transfer of development holistically and to prepare a new bill that can be introduced at a later date to address transfer of development for both historic properties and to retreat from the shoreline. Councilmember Wire proposed an amendment to add back the joint development use to the use table and add related standards. Their proposal would add back the provisions in the existing Land Use Ordinance Article 5. A previous CD1 version of Bill 10 had already deleted provisions relating to joint development. Like the transfer of development, joint development is not really a land use, so it should probably not be listed as a use table entry or regulated in Land Use Ordinance Article 5. Essentially, joint development agreements are contracts that function as land use permits when approved by the city. There were issues and concerns with joint development, including whether a conditional use permit was an effective mechanism for permitting joint development agreements. Also, joint development essentially results in a de facto consolidation of land without considering the subdivision ordinance and its requirements, creating a loophole that may undermine the purpose of the subdivision ordinance, which is meant to ensure adequate streets, utilities, drainage, and vehicular access under predetermined standards. In addition, there have been problems with the layering of joint development agreements among various landowners, with related complications and disagreements when some owners enter into agreements without the knowledge or consent of other involved owners. We plan to work with the DPP, developers, and other stakeholders to think about how joint development might work while preserving some of the safeguards built into the consolidation process under the subdivision ordinance, and preparing a new bill that can be introduced at a later date to address joint development. Questions for the department? And if you can identify yourself.
Good morning, Chair and Council members. Alex Beatty with the Department of Planning and Permitting.
What is the department's position on deleting the transfer of development provisions and preparing a new bill that it can be introduced at a later date to address the transfer of development for both historic properties and to retreat from the shoreline?
We support that. To our knowledge, nobody has used the existing provision that's in the LUO that's related to this. And we are, as planning nerds, we are very excited to think about with our colleagues over here, TDR, transfer of development rights. It's a new frontier for regulating retreat options. And so we're looking forward to that discussion and believe that it should be separate from this one.
Thank you. With regard to joint development agreements, do you believe that some of the concerns that have been expressed over the current process can be addressed and modified within the confines of the next hearing? Or do you believe that we should work with the developers and other stakeholders to prepare a new bill that can be introduced at a later date to address this issue?
I think we need to have something in Bill 64 to address the ordinary run-of-the-mill joint developments that are really common in, say, the Ho'opilis or Ko'o Ridges of Oahu. They are a frequently used tool to combine lots for efficient development purposes. Although the CUP may be an unusual mechanism, it does provide opportunities to review for access to infrastructure and some of those other issues that you raised. So we would support having something. And then if a broader discussion is warranted, we can do that separate and later.
Thank you. If you could get me language as soon as possible, I'd appreciate it.
Yes.
Members, any questions with regard to this section before miscellaneous uses, before I go into agricultural uses? Any questions for miscellaneous uses? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. No, I was just going to ask if DPP can share the language with the rest of the committee as well when it comes out regarding the joint development agreement recommendations.
Sure. Likely it will be something along the lines of what was introduced in Bill 10 or what was originally, or what was existing in 2017. I think that's what we're looking at right now. So the ordinary, regular joint developments is what we would put forward, I think.
Okay. Yep. And so in terms of the recommendations put forward in committee member and council member recommendations, was it deviating from that?
Not substantially, except for the secondary part, the overlapping joint development of 2 or more lots in Waikiki and Ala Moana. That one we're still trying to understand exactly if we want to reinsert that or not.
Okay. Okay, no, that's good. And I'll defer to Chair on the amendments, but wanted to just have the language as early as possible to discuss with community members and stakeholders.
Understood.
Mahalo.
Thank you. So Councilmember Wire, just in preparation, the current language under the land use is likely not going to be acceptable. It's going to have to be modified. Thank you. If we're going to move on to agricultural uses, for agricultural uses, I am recommending amendments to consolidate the agritourism use into one use and delete reference to minor and major agritourism. If you recall, at the committee September meeting, we separated the agritourism use into minor and major uses requiring a minor conditional use permit for minor agritourism and a major conditional use permit for major agritourism. There were concerns that the minor agritourism use was very similar to the nature-based recreation use and may cause confusion. So upon further consideration, I'll be recommending that we revert back to a single agritourism use with a focus on accessory agricultural-related tourism for recreational or educational purposes on zoning lots primarily used for ongoing crop production or livestock and poultry keeping. My amendments also change the required conditional use permit from a major to a minor, since agritourism will be accessory and secondary to a principal agricultural use. For various uses in the agricultural zoning districts, a minimum 51% of the zoning lot area suitable for crop production or livestock keeping must be dedicated to crop production or livestock and poultry keeping through an agricultural easement or legal encumbrance for as long as the use is occurring. And as I mentioned with a testifier, I actually have concerns over that cumbersome requirement, so I'm looking for another instrument to meet that requirement. We often refer to this requirement as the 51% requirement, which is meant to ensure that a majority of the city's agricultural lands are used for agricultural activities. My proposed amendments would add the 51% requirements to the following uses when occurring in the Ag 1 and Ag 2 zoning districts. Farm dwelling use. At the September 2024 committee meeting, we deleted the 51% requirement, but upon further consideration, I am proposing to add it back in. Small, medium, and large wind energy use and major animal care use. Aquaculture and urban agriculture would be allowed in the I-1, I-2, I-3, and IMX 1 zoning districts. Aquaculture would be permitted and urban culture would be subject to a minor conditional use permit and standards. This acknowledges that aquaculture and vertical agriculture methods are expanding and becoming prevalent in warehouse-type operations in the industrial and industrial mixed-use zoning districts. In addition, urban agriculture, which occurs outside of the agricultural zoning districts, would specifically include aquaculture. It clarifies that minor agricultural processing includes the processing of Hawaii-grown crops, grown on-site or off-site to produce malt beverages, distilled spirits, or wines, of which at least 51% must be Hawaii-grown ingredients other than water. This is to make it clear that water, which is a primary ingredient in alcoholic beverages, is not counted to the requirement that the processing involve Hawaii-grown crops grown on-site or off-site. It clarifies that the term agricultural energy facility does not include utility-scale solar facilities. This is to make it clear that while utility-scale solar installations are not allowed, agricultural energy facilities are encouraged to include customer site behind-the-meter solar installations for the facility's energy needs. I will also be recommending the acceptance of Councilmember Wyer's proposal to amend the farm worker housing standards. These appear in line item number 1 as modified in my response communication to make technical revisions in Councilmember Wyer's Council Communication 259-2024. Councilmember Wyer, would you like to provide more details on your proposed farm worker housing amendments?
Thank you, Chair. I think the central component was ensuring that the farm worker housing was utilized for folks who were actually engaged in agricultural work on the property. And that was after discussions with the community.
Thank you. I will also be recommending the acceptance of Councilmember Topola's proposal to amend the animal raising use to consist of minor animal raising and major animal raising, instead of outdoor animal raising and confined animal raising. These appear in line item number 6 and line item number 7 as modified in my response communication to make clarifying amendments in Councilmember Topola's Council Communication 255-2024. I also added in my response communication from line item to address standards for major animal raising. For the most part, the clarifying amendments equate minor to outdoor and major to confined, retain the zoning districts in which the uses are allowed. For minor, the P2, Ag 2, Ag 1, and country zoning districts, and for major, the Ag 1 and Ag 2 zoning districts, and provide for standards that apply to major animal raising, previously applied to confined animal raising. The clarifying amendments also provide that beekeeping is a minor animal raising use and is not subject to standards. Councilmember Tupola, would you like to explain your proposed minor and major animal raising amendments?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, there's a few things, the major and minor you already outlined. One is for outdoor, one is for confined. Specifically, when we met with our group, a large portion was from Waianae, but many were from all over that do animal raising, over 100 people, and of course, Ulupono and Hawaii Farm Bureau were there. So this is addressing some of the concerns they had about current use of animal raising on land that they already own, as well as the different categories of where it can happen. I believe you already outlined most of it, but for those people who are listening, this is from our working group and it was submitted and it was accepted. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For DPP, what is your department's position on consolidating the agritourism use into one use and deleting references to minor and major agritourism?
I think we are okay with that as long as a conditional use permit is required. But just for the committee members' understanding, the only substantive difference between a major conditional use permit and a minor conditional use permit is the time period that we have to review, the department has to review. Minors 45, majors 90 days. And that for majors, the department's required to hold a public hearing. So that is the big distinction. The review criteria that we analyze is the same. The expectation of what the applicant prepares and provides to us is the same. It's the opportunity for the community to weigh in on these uses that is different. And I think, just making sure that everybody understands that. From our perspective, both cups provide the same level of opportunity for us to mitigate impacts on the surrounding area and to regulate these uses. It's whether the council members believe that a public hearing is warranted.
Thank you. Does the department agree with allowing aquaculture and urban agriculture in the I-1, I-2, I-3, and IMX-1 zoning districts?
I think we just have a few concerns about the competing policies of supporting traditionally industrial uses and wanting to support ag uses in any place where they can thrive. As you mentioned, some of these new types of urban ag happen in warehouse buildings. They may require higher intensity of electricity or water usage for aquaculture, and that may make them appear to be more industrial. On the other hand, maybe the department or maybe the city should be supporting providing those types of infrastructures on ag land where ag is the primary principal use. I think I just want to express that we have concerns there's competing interests, and I don't know that we have a direct answer for you.
Okay, the insertion of aquaculture was specifically raised by some of the stakeholders who felt that we have other type of agricultural activities that are allowed, and so why not aquaculture? But thank you for your response. Members, do you have any questions for the department about agricultural uses? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. 2 questions. Thank you for being here. So quickly, I had submitted one in regards to the cat sanctuary issue with them being able to care for animals in an outdoor setting as opposed to only indoors. My amendment was not accepted, and it said animal care is a commercial principal use and is not consistent with the purpose and intent of Ag 1, Ag 2, and country zoning districts. However, I did meet with you guys with DPP, and specifically we discussed this amendment that I suggested, and DPP was in favor of it. Is that still your stance?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar because I was not involved in that meeting, and I'm not exactly certain what the department's position is on it.
Okay, yeah, because we were meeting with Liz, so she's not here today.
No, I'm sorry, she's not.
Okay, so yeah, Chair, that one as well as the other one that we worked on, which was striking the 1,000 square foot total floor area from this is agritourism as well. DPP was supportive of both, and we went through explicitly why, but I don't think we're gonna get very far if Liz isn't here. Those are the only two that I felt like possibly, and if we have to come back and try to come at it again, but that was specifically created so that they could do the animal care outside for the cats. I know it's not in my district, but I have lots of cats and dogs that I need them to go places. So, and it's not always going to be in air-conditioned buildings. Let's be clear on that. Like some of them will be outside. So I really think that this cat one, probably more than the 1,000 square foot one, is more important to me, that we all kind of get on the same page about it, because it's such a small modification of what needs to be, I mean, so small. The modification is just so, like, it just barely says, I defined in number 2, apartment business use, mixed use, so that it was clear that for certain commercial uses that this is what happens. And then it took out the Ag 1 and Ag 2 so that for outdoor uses that it could happen the way the sanctuary is happening right now. So maybe if you wouldn't mind, and we can try to have another meeting with you, just kind of acclimate yourself to that. Because actually in number 2 in my amendment, that's the one where I separated that major animal care is the one that has to be soundproof and air conditioned. If that's not written in there, then anyone who does animal care has to do it in a building. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand. I'll look into it and get back to you if that's okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
sounds
Thank
good.
you,
Thank you.
Councilmember. And to my staff, can you guys please make those notations? I did have a question, Councilmember, with regard to the sanctuary. You know, for these sanctuaries, were the cats going to be in an enclosed area? Because otherwise they can be going all over the place.
Yeah, the one that they have is actually similar to the one they have on Lanai, where they have like areas for them. But in the current written law, it states that if you do animal care, you have to have it in an air-conditioned, soundproof building, because it's referring to places like Humane Society, other places. What I'm trying to say is there is still animal care, and it doesn't happen in those buildings, and it is allowed currently right now on ag land.
Yes, but I'm asking, is it going to be enclosed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to residential uses.
Yeah, I thought I have a quick question, Chair.
Councilmember Wire.
Just about the nature-based recreation for DPP, Mahalo Chair. I just wanted to ask, in terms of the definition and allowing cabins, I was just curious what the reasoning was behind that.
We currently have a vacation cabin definition use that's permitted with a major cup as an accessory to outdoor recreation. I can't think of an instance where it has been utilized, but it is currently on the books. There are also a number of well-loved and well-utilized camping facilities that sometimes are in the ag district, and we felt that it was important to make sure that that kind of use, which appears to be somewhat appropriate, is continued to be allowed, so that there is access to nature and open space, and there is a place for people to go and do those kinds of activities.
When you say well-loved, you mean like Camp Homalani, Camp Erdman, any of those?
Yep. Yes, exactly.
Okay, and so just so I make sure I'm hearing correctly, instead of turning those into non-conforming uses, it would be providing explicit allowance as a proper use under the LUO if you kept cabins in.
Correct, yes.
Okay, mahalo. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. With regard to residential uses, I'm recommending amendments to add a caretaker dwelling use under the accessory residential use subcategory. The existing land use ordinance is 2 accessory caretaker dwelling uses, an owner's or caretaker's accessory dwelling, and a cemetery caretaker's dwelling. There is a real and important need for this type of caretaker unit, which is defined as an accessory dwelling unit occupied by the owner or caretaker of a principal use on a zoning lot for purposes of maintenance and security of the premises. In the P2, Ag 1, and Ag 2 zoning districts, caretaker units are allowed as secondary supplemental uses for cemeteries and Hawaiian fish ponds. Caretaker units are also allowed in the business mixed use, industrial, and industrial mixed use zoning districts above or behind the principal use. For the department, what is DPP's position on adding back a caretaker dwelling use under the accessory residential use subcategory?
We support that.
And I know we've had previous discussions, with regard to the fish pond, but because I've heard from agricultural stakeholders that they too have theft on their land and kind of differentiate a farm dwelling from a caretaker unit, why should we not add a caretaker unit use for farms and ranches?
The farm dwelling is the accessory. It is effectively the caretaker dwelling for ag land. So allowing essentially a doubling the opportunity for the number of dwelling units on a site may be contrary to some of our other goals, like limiting gentleman farms or opportunities for non-ag families to be living on ag land.
But aren't there some lands where is a farm dwelling allowed on all ag lands, including in some, North Shore, they have a lot of big acreages. Are all of those lands eligible for a farm dwelling?
If the zoning is ag, yes.
Okay, but what if they don't want a big farm dwelling and just want a caretaker unit?
They can build a small caretaker unit, but we'll still call it a farm dwelling.
Oh, okay.
They don't have to build the maximum size house.
Okay.
Nobody has to build the maximum size house.
I just want to make sure that they're eligible because there's been an increase in theft all the way around, not just at the fish ponds, but also on farm lots. Okay, so I hope the stakeholders out there are listening to this. Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for residential uses? Okay, we're going to move on to public, civic, and institutional uses. Both Councilmember Topola's Council Communication 255, line items number 1, 2, and 3, and Councilmember Wire's Council Communication 259, line items 4, 5, and 6, propose to establish a new INA-based education facility use under the education category. The INA-based education facility would support educational programs that are grounded in the cultural, environmental, and community values of INA, are not operated primarily for financial gain, and must be dedicated to agriculture, conservation, or INA-based education programs that are accessory and secondary to the principal agricultural use of the zoning lot. INA-based education facilities would be allowed in the P2, Ag 1, and Ag 2 zoning districts. While the establishment of a new INA-based education facility use would not be recommended at this time, I wanted to open this topic up for discussion so we can start the conversation and revisit this matter at our committee meeting on November 21st. For the department, what is the department's position on INA-based education facility use?
We're supportive of the concept. We think that in some circumstances, a conditional use permit is the appropriate mechanism to make sure that the use is properly regulated. And in other situations, we think that this is already permitted as a kind of accessory associated use.
And do you have a preference on whether it be part of a current use or an independent use? For do you care if you simply want to make sure that they require a CUP? Does it matter whether it's under a current use?
I think,
or can we create a new category?
Currently, HRS 205 defines agritourism to include educational type uses, and we think that it best fits into that category. One concern about bumping it out as its own independent use with its own definition, especially if it is proposed to be a capital P permitted use without a conditional use permit, is the ability for the category to be misused and to allow loosely associated, somewhat educational opportunities to pass themselves off as INA-based, and for the department to not have sufficient tools to do much about it.
Can this type of activity already be done as an unregulated accessory use to principal agricultural activities permitted in the P2, Ag 1, and Ag 2 zoning district?
yes, this type of activity, and again, that the definition of what that activity is really important. If a working farm occasionally has students come and check things out and they teach them how it works, that is an ordinary accessory to a regular farm operation. If maybe the farm has offers employment opportunities to youth in high school, or maybe internships, if they're coming to work on the farm, well, that's just working on a farm. That's also a permitted use. They undoubtedly will be learning. People always learn while they're working, and that could be seen as INA-based education as well. So there are many things that could be INA-based education that fall under existing categories that are already permitted.
Under what circumstances would the INA-based education facility use not be allowed as an unregulated accessory use and would therefore require it to fall under another use?
I think that's when it becomes a regular activity that's maybe a little less directly associated with the principal use, and if there are any, or if there are any structures dedicated specifically to that. Doing some education in a barn where other ag activities happen is different than building an amphitheater to give lectures and hold classes.
I think you've already answered your recommendation, but about agritourism being the appropriate use category. But is there any other use category that we might be able to consider?
Again, not knowing exactly how this use would be defined, it makes it a little bit difficult. You know, there's a Venn diagram of many uses that it could be considered, like vocational school, if it was targeted at post-secondary education. I suspect this isn't that. It's targeted at school children. That's the one that immediately comes to mind, maybe even meeting facility, if it's more associated with like a workers' union meeting hall kind of thing. There might be some INA-based education happening there as well, but that's a meeting facility. So there are similar related uses, but from what I understand that we're trying to do, the most appropriate use seems to be the agritourism.
Thank you. Members, Councilmember Tupola and Wire especially. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And, you know, ultimately I'll defer to Chair because I do understand the direction you're going, and so appreciate that, but just wanted to know with DPP that, or I guess get clarification, because I know in some of the proposed definitions of INA-based specifically noted it was not operated primarily for financial gain. I would assume under agritourism, an institution, entity, business operating generally would most likely be for profit if it's doing, is that DPP's understanding as well?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, because typically we're setting the minimum ag usage for the lot, and then we're adding on agritourism is an allowed use if folks are actually doing ag, and then it's accessory to ag, but then it could still be, you know, something business-like in nature, which is appropriate, but would be different than like a nonprofit or just community-based activity.
Right, and it's difficult for us to distinguish those things in law because we're trying to look at the potential impacts. I could imagine a scenario where somebody is looking to prepare their land for farming, and if it's a permitted use, says that drag racing is an INA-based education opportunity to teach people about the land and how tilling might work. It would be really difficult for us to distinguish the difference between something like that and a Kamehameha Schools program at Ma'o Farm. And so looking just at the potential impacts and where the category best fits, we think that in a lot of situations it's already allowed as an accessory to the ongoing underlying agricultural use. And in other situations, it rises to a level where we would like to review it as a conditional use permit and require the applicant to think about those impacts ahead of time, and then for us to have the opportunity to mitigate any impacts that may have been missed.
Appreciate that. That's extremely helpful. Does drag racing till?
I'm not, no, I don't know.
Okay, very timely hypothetical, so we're just curious. Mahalo, Chair.
Councilmember Tupola?
Yeah, thank you. I do hear what you're saying as far as things that are already permitted. Maybe it falls under building meeting uses. Maybe it falls under farmers' structures. So I hear what you're saying. I also hear what they're saying. So we're hoping, as well as with Councilmember Wire, maybe just bringing, Kamehameha Schools and you guys together. See, I honestly think it's going to be something very minimal in a definition that kind of broadens it and allows for this in currently permitted uses as opposed to a new category, but we shall see. I think that they just use a lot of land even in my district that I just want to make sure that there's no problems moving forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We're going to move on to commercial uses. With regard to commercial uses, in line item number 4 and line item of number 5 of Councilmember Tupola's Council Communication 255-2024, Councilmember Tupola proposed amendments to the bed and breakfast, home and transient vacation units to allow for these types of short-term rentals on certain parcels zone A2 next to the Ho'akale Resort in Eva Beach. The area is not yet developed. Although no changes to the bed and breakfast, home and transient vacation unit standards will be recommended at this time, I wanted to open this topic up for discussion so we can start the conversation and revisit this issue at the committee meeting on November 21st. I have some questions for the department and a representative of the Ho'akale developer, but first I'd like to give Councilmember Tupola the opportunity to provide comments on her proposed amendments for bed and breakfast, home and transient vacation units in the Ho'akale area.
Thank you so much, Chair. Yeah, this directly deals with the fact that that area in Eva is going to be zone resort. So per the law, it's going to be allowable there. But under the law, we have specific maps that designate that things are, bed and breakfasts are allowed in those areas as far as the delineation. So they had asked just to make sure that everything is clear, that they be added to the maps and then designated also as being able to do this. And I will say one more thing, Chair, is that we will be submitting one more amendment to fix the one map at Ko'olina where the line goes through the houses, and that also is, again, zone resort. So not opening it up to new areas, only in resort areas. Thank you.
Thank you for the department. The developer plans to develop approximately 842 dwelling units on the A2 zone parcels where short-term rentals would be allowed. Since the city is experiencing a severe housing crisis, does the department think it makes sense for the city to allow these 842 dwelling units to be used as short-term rentals instead of for our residents and their families?
We think that's very much a policy decision that we hope to hear more about from the council members. I will point out that the zone changes, when those happen, there were several, and they can be a little bit of a web. I don't believe contemplated short-term rentals on these A2 portions. The expectation was that they would be multifamily dwellings or single-family residences. And then it's quite a large A2 portion. It's not in the resort district. There is a section of Ho'akale that's in the resort district, but about maybe a third to a half of the land immediately around the lagoon is that's developable is in this A2 portion. So it's not an insignificant area to be developed for vacation rentals as opposed to multifamily dwellings.
Thank you. Does the EVA development plan envision housing in the Ho'akale area as opposed to short-term rentals? And does the EVA development plan anticipate short-term rentals in the proposed A2 zone area where it is being proposed?
There is in the EVA development plan Exhibit 3.5, which shows the detailed map of Ocean Point and Ho'akale, which shows that the area that is now zoned A2 that approximate area is for low to medium density residential uses. The EVA development plan also has an overall land use map that's a little bit less detailed, but it still shows the same area as being in the medium density apartment or commercial mixed use district. So there is a separate independent resort shown on the map that is not part of this area we're discussing today.
Thank you. Is the agent for the developer in the chamber today?
Aloha, Councilmember Isaiah Sato, and I work with RM Tower Corporation. David Tanoy is here with me as well, and we represent Haseko Development on this.
Thank you for being here today. My question is, when the master plan for Ho'okale was approved, the developer recorded various unilateral agreements. Does the applicable unilateral agreement for the proposed A2 zone area allow for short-term rentals?
Yes, so there's been unilateral agreements since the 1990s. 1993, I think, was the first one. And the area that we sectioned off, there was no restriction to short-term rentals. So it is allowable under the UA.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions for DPP or the agent's developer? Councilmember Tupola, do you have any questions?
Yeah, sure. Just a follow-up. So the unilateral agreement, and just to be clear, I think because DPP said that maybe there's one section for resort, but not all of the sections. In your opinion, what are the areas that are zone resort in where the development is?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Tupola. So just kind of broadly speaking about Ho'okale and Ocean Point, so Haseko's been involved in this community since the 1980s.
Yeah.
They developed Ocean Point over, almost 4,000 homes in the area, and they're moving on to Ho'okale, which is the resort side. The resort, the mixed use. So they have business zoning, they have BMX zoning, they have resort zoning, and they have A2 zoning here. In the EVA development plan, as Mr. Alexander Beatty mentioned, it's a little vague on the land use map, but the area shows the marina, which is old. It shows a resort area adjacent to the marina, and right on the right, it shows a medium density housing, or a medium density apartment and commercial mixed use. So it is identified as like a commercial mixed use area, and all tied in with that resort there.
Yeah, and I bring that up because it's actually, one, I'm not fighting for this. This was all done years ago in former council members that before me that came, but it actually is similar to Ko'olina because Ko'olina has the A1, A2 as part of their resort, where they have a mix of some houses where people live there permanently, and then some that they live there, but then they might come 6 months out of the year and then rent it for some months of the year. Do you envision that in some of these that there may be people that want to live there permanently and that it's not just for Airbnbs, or what is your thoughts? That's kind of how Ko'olina operates, that's why.
No, yes, definitely. I think Ko'olina is a great example of what we're trying to do. Ko'olina was a big economic driver to the West Side community, and we're hoping to be that economic driver for the EVA community as well. And similar to Ko'olina, they do have the resort and their own hotel areas, but they also have the residential and B&B areas. But a lot of residents live there, and I know a handful of people that live in the Ko'olina area and have that opportunity to rent it out. So we're envisioning something to be similar to Ko'olina. We want to, there's 6 resort zoning spots on the island: Waikiki, Ko'olina, Turtle Bay, Laie has a small spot, Makaha, and Ho'okale. And out of those spots, 3 of them allow B&B and TVUs in areas near it. Waikiki has a few spots. Ko'olina has their areas, as well as Turtle Bay has their areas. So we'd like to be treated similar to these other developments and these other resort communities.
Yeah, and Chair, I bring that up because I don't think there's any thought that every single house is just going to be a short-term rental. There are tons of people that are local residents that live in Ko'olina, but sometimes out of the year when they leave, they're allowed to use it as an Airbnb. So I'm hopeful that there will be actual residents living in that area, but it's just going to be allowed for Airbnbs if they want to do it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to move on. Under other, I will also be recommending an amendment to the definition of accessory to revert back to the definition of accessory use in the existing land use ordinance. A use is allowed as accessory to permitted use of property if it is not expressly prohibited by the zoning code and is incidental, subordinate, and customarily associated with a use that is allowed by the zoning code. The definition of accessory use in the current land use ordinance better captures the essence of this understanding. Note that the use table does not list all allowable accessory uses and instead specifically addresses accessory uses that are regulated and subject to standards set forth in the land use ordinance. Members, do you have any other questions or discussions on everything we've discussed today before I make my recommendations? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Particularly since we had Jordana Ferreira here, the city's child care coordinator, I hoped that possibly she could come up and just share community services, Department of Community Services position on recommended amendments that understand the chair's intention, but wanted to just have the conversation and at least afford her the opportunity to lay out what they thought would maybe be potential amendments that could be considered.
Sure. I need to let you know, you can come up, but I have to tell you, this has been going on for a long time. It would have been nice. I got your email, but it would have been nice if you guys actually made concrete amendments during the entire time that we've been considering this. And so I'll give her a few minutes.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and particularly just the recommended amendments we had as well, I think speak to the department's position, but completely.
She should speak on your amendments.
Okay,
and if she's interested in it, I'll listen a little bit, but I can't be doing this for all agencies.
Understood. Mahalo, Chair.
Aloha, thank you, Chair. Duly noted, understand, apologies for the late notice on this. As Councilmember Wire had indicated, the amendments are related to home-based childcare providers only. They do have a very unique business model. They're caring for really young children. So right now, the current land use ordinance does have some restrictions to hiring, which does pose some significant barriers for those that are providing care for these young children. So for example, they might not be able to use the bathroom privately, or they have to strategically prep food while keeping an eye on all children, which can pose some health and safety issues for young kids. So the amendments that Councilmember Wire introduced would really just allow for one additional non-household member. So the current LUO does allow for household members to provide care, but a lot of household members in family childcare homes are either working, right? They have a spouse that works outside of the home, or they have adult children that are going to school. So many of these providers do not actually have a household member that can provide care during those business hours. So allowing for one non-household member to be able to be hired would provide that additional support that would be helpful for childcare programs. So I believe those were the amendments that Councilmember Wire had proposed.
And thank you, Coordinator Ferrer. I wonder if you could, and I concisely maybe just give an overview of the childcare need in the community and kind of the work the city's doing and trying to advance.
Sure. So right now, Oahu, I believe, has 238 home-based providers in total, which can care for about 563 children. So right now, the city's working to expand options for childcare for working families and families that really need it, to provide quality services to young children. And home-based providers provide a very unique option to that. So the city's efforts right now are really focused on just expanding those opportunities, and especially addressing the gap group of infants and toddlers, so children under the age of 3. And if this amendment does get adopted, it would actually also allow home-based providers to accept more children under the age of 18 months. So under current state licensing regs, home-based providers can care for up to 6 children in the home, depending on square footage, but not more than 2 that are under the age of 18. If they do have 2 adults, though, they can actually increase that to 4 children under the age of 18 months. So allowing this and having home-based providers be able to hire one additional staff can also increase the amount of infants and toddlers we can service as well.
Okay, and when you say increase the number of infants and toddlers, that's within the maximum number? So it'd still be capped, but then you can take more of the younger, than maybe like recently, mothers and fathers that may be needing to return to work could make use of. Okay.
Correct. It would still be capped at 6, but they could take on 4 younger children.
Okay, mahalo. And mahalo, Chair. That was, just wanted to share and explain the basis for the proposed amendments.
Thank you. And can I ask, have you been working with DPP?
We have had conversations with DPP and will continue to do so.
Continue to do so. I think it would have been helpful because we meet with them all the time on the amendments. So highly recommend you do so in anticipation of the November 21st meeting. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you, Chair.
Colleagues, I'm going to move forward with my recommendations. The Chair recommends that the CD1 version approved at the September 26, 2024 Planning and the Economy Committee meeting identified as OCS 2024-0907, be further amended to first, incorporate all of the amendments listed in my Council Communications 262 and 266, 2024. In Councilmember Wyer's Council Communication 259, 2024, incorporate line item number 1 as modified in my response communication to make technical revisions which relate to farm worker housing standards. In Councilmember Tupola's Council Communication 255, 2024, incorporate the following amendments relating to the changing outdoor animal raising to minor animal raising and changing confined animal raising to major animal raising. Line item number 6, relating to the definitions of minor and major animal raising. Line item number 7, relating to use table entries for minor and major animal raising. And the unnumbered line item relating to standards for major animal raising. Any further discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, the bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 64, 2023 FD1 CD1 be reported out for passage on second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any further discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. So today we reviewed and completed agricultural uses, residential uses, public, civic, and institutional uses, commercial uses, industrial uses, and miscellaneous uses. A big mahalo to everyone who participated in this process for all of your hard work on this bill. That includes my colleagues, that includes the DPP, Office of Consular Services, Consular Support Services with Lori Hirioka putting in a lot of time on this measure, as well as Brianne Nuuhiva and Gloria Apama of my office, and of course, again, the community. We have made excellent progress and improvements when the bill is referred back to the Planning and the Economy Committee after passing second reading and the holding of a public hearing. I plan to consider the bill at the committee meeting on November 21st and report the bill out for third and final reading at the council meeting on December 11th, 2024. Mahalo for everyone for being here today. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.